Alright, this is one of those videos where I'm going to get the easy stuff out of the way first because I'm not really sure how I want to approach this. There is much to talk about, but I definitely need to go about it with a certain nuance. So, easy stuff, this is Little Misfortune, and it comes to us from Killmonday Games, who might seem familiar due to that Fran Bow game I reviewed a while back. The game stars a young girl in an unfortunate, depressing circumstance who has strange things happen to and around her, and from there it gets weird. And yes, I'm obviously talking about Little Misfortune and Fran Bow at the same time. Little Misfortune is available on Steam, GOG, Origin and Humble Bundle for Windows, Mac and Linux, and it starts something like this. A fox and a deaf boy are hanging out in the spoopy forest, and Deaf Boy points the fox in the direction of a mysterious looking tombstone. The fox has his task, and he's ready to get to work. How do those things stay in his ears? And that work involves super splody portal magic. And a little cart on wheels. Cut to a quaint little house, and the narrator introducing himself. To us, directly. He'll talk to you a few times. Apparently we're going to play this game of his, and if we make it to the end, we'll be rewarded. If that's not creepy enough, we then cut to a young girl playing in her room. She's introduced as a wonderful child from a not-so-wonderful family, evidenced by the fact that they named her Misfortune. Then again, she is about to die, so I guess it's appropriate. Wait, what?
The sad part is, today is the day she will die.
I can hear you know.
Yes, a disembodied voice knows this girl is going to die soon, and she's the one that's going to be playing his game. And we're enabling it. Well done us. Those of you who jump into this after Fran Bow might be surprised. The intriguing dual worlds mechanic where you'd take a pill and swap between normal room and blood-soaked hellscape is not here, and neither are the inventory or puzzles. Your main contribution to the narrative in Little Misfortune will be walking forward, looking at stuff, and making choices. And occasionally sprinkling glitter, but mostly choices. A handful of these are organic, and even then they're mostly for gaining achievements. The majority of them are like this. Binary choice, right in your face. Your free options for control are keyboard and mouse, keyboard only, and gamepad. The lack of a mouse only option is pretty telling. I've played it through with keyboard and mouse, and I honestly wish I'd gone keyboard only. All it did was make me move my hands when it came time to click one of those close buttons. Because if you give me keyboard controls for movement, I'll probably use them. Turns out you can press the X key on the keyboard to hit that close button anyway. It would have been nice to have that explained at some point. In fact, here's all the controls. WASD or arrow keys to move, E space or left click to interact with hotspots, which you'll need to be standing next to, by the way. Hold shift and move or double click to run, F key or click on Misfortune to throw glitter. Yes, this is a mechanic in the game and it's great. I didn't bother to check what the gamepad controls were, but the game will let you know what they are. Once, when each individual mechanic is revealed. A list you can refer back to would have been nice, is what I'm saying. So you're dealing with a mechanically simple game which will presumably be relying on story to get you through, perhaps even some replay value from making different choices. The game will even point out one or two instances where you could have chosen differently. All that depends, of course, on whether or not you want to play the story more than once. Said story does hit a few of the same kind of beats as Fran Bow, where a young girl sees or hears strange things and the adults are possibly not all on the up and up. Because the disembodied voice talking about games and death to a literal child is an evil disembodied voice. I really don't think that is a spoiler given his introduction. Also not a spoiler is that this game is weird. You play as a young girl with a troubled home life who's hearing voices, seeing hallucinations and has a crush on a fox, and I'm really not embellishing or simplifying that last part. And it only gets weirder as Misfortune wanders out of her home and further into the world, where stranger things happen, the situations get more unusual and I start running out of synonyms for weird. Then the disembodied voice starts asking more serious and uncomfortable questions, all under the guise of guiding this girl towards her prize of eternal happiness. To be honest, I'm stalling at this point. The game made me uncomfortable. The setup of evil supernatural man leads young soul astray can be abstracted out into a story suitable for children, but this game just keeps going with it. And depending on what tone they're going for, difficult to pin down in itself, that might be to its detriment. I know the game wants me to know that Misfortune's home life is terrible, but the sheer number of things she rattles off of the deadbeat mother checklist is almost comical. I can't shake the feeling the game wants us to take it seriously, especially where the ending is concerned, and yet this never feels like it's 100% serious. Here's some footage of us passing a hamster strip joint for no reason. I just can't put my finger on what tone they're going for. In fact, backing up a little bit, I think I figured out what's been weirding me out about this game. They start talking about sex. Mummy's little indiscretions are brought up as a casual aside. There's the aforementioned hamster strip joint, which, I mean, there's no way that's literal, surely. And the creepy voice talks about the onset of puberty whilst expressly mentioning her vagina. I mean, come on with this guy, I will form a lynch mob right now. Of course, this is the writing of a man and woman viewed through my lens, that of a straight man. I'm hoping there's some subtleties that were lost on me rather than what I fear could be very over-the-top, almost ham-fisted ways of getting us to hate this disembodied voice. You can hammer a point too hard, to the point where it gets so ridiculous that it loses all meaning. I feel like that's what's happening here. Emphasising the terrible life this girl has explains why she's so eager to find the prize of eternal happiness, which she's looking to give to her mother, if you want your daily dose of wholesome. And I want to emphasise that this isn't a case of being reminded too often. It's a case of me wondering, okay, how much more worse could it possibly get? Which distracts me from the message I assume the game is attempting to convey. It's possible I didn't have this problem with Fran Bow due to it being a little more fantastical, or the fate of Fran's family being more of a mystery. Not that an early century asylum is going to be a nicer place for a young girl, it just never felt quite as grounded in reality by comparison. But what seems more likely is, I'm wary of narratives that include domestic abuse. I don't think it's a topic to be taken lightly or boiled down to daddy hits mommy so feels sad in this case. Granted, it's a couple of lines, like 3 at most, and it does tie back into the overall story. Misfortune's parents aren't just unhappy to be edgy and gritty. But again, that point keeps getting hammered, which is what makes me suspicious. Are they trying to be edgy? Was there a threshold of awful the developers felt they had to hit? So what do we have here? Well, it's a game that's heavy on narrative, low on mechanics, devoid of puzzles, and, if you're me, had a higher than average chance of making you feel uncomfortable. You'd have to ask the developers themselves if that was intentional, or at least if the part that made me uncomfortable was meant to do that. It's a unique experience, as I'm sure the footage will make obvious, although the £15.49 price tag for 2.5 hours of playtime might seem a little on the low side. Playtime-wise, not price-wise. Too much money for play, you get it. Depends on how you feel about the potential replay value you'd get from picking different choices. I didn't have a problem playing through it the first time, but it wasn't enough for me to try a second playthrough. Still, there's a free demo you can try, a small portion of the game, enough to see what the game will mostly be about, without going into the creepiest aspect I was talking about earlier. The path towards creepitude is pretty clear to see though. All that said, the game did make me think far too much about the one subject, which is about all I can ask for when it comes to these videos.
Their lifestyle drives them to gather useless information. They live off attention. Funny bird. Somehow I feel offended by this bird.
Don't be. It doesn't know what...